Welcome. Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights, here with Tim Shepler, a.k.a. Big Shep, about the cards and other hobby fame. His favorite player, I think it's his favorite player, George Brett. And I love doing player episodes with people that are passionate about the player. I've actually met George Brett, so I've got my own personal reminiscence. I actually spent the week with him, but I'm sure Tim's got some cool stuff to tell, to enlighten me as well as fans. But first, thanks sponsors: Topps Panini Upper Deck, Heritage Auctions, Huggins and Scott Auctions, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, ComC.com, Burbank Sports Cards, and Mike's Stadium Sports Cards. Great sponsors. Patronize them and give About the Cards a listen as well. That's Tim's flagship. He's a co-founder of that. Great listen. Today, George Brett. So, Tim, welcome to the show. And why George Brett?
Kid growing up in Wichita, Kansas in the early 80s. I mean, the Royals were everything. George Brett was the Royal, still is the Royal. And so it was no other. I mean, that was our guy. I mean, everybody liked him. Bo came around in 87, but diehard George Brett forever. And he shares his birthday's the same as my grandpa Shepler's was May 15th. And so that always kind of spoke to me of, hey, that's a good day. As a kid growing up. So that was pretty cool.
Is Brett 66 then or something like that? Or?
Yeah, he was actually 67. He was born in 53.
Okay.
Yep.
Getting up there, but he's in his prime. That's what we say now. Okay, so he's so you're coming up. You're in the Wichita, which is the Kansas, the Kansas City area, closest major league team, and the Royals are pretty good, I guess. I mean, he's great.
Yeah.
And so, were you collecting his cards right from the beginning, or was it more of just appreciating the player?
No, I mean, the first time I was collecting was 86, 87. So, I was 7, 8 years old. And so I knew who Brett was, and that was the card I was looking for, along with a guy in a green uniform, which I don't want to talk about him, but we were always looking for an 87 Topps. And it just came from there. I got to meet him, and I don't remember this, but they used to have picture days in Kansas City. And so my dad always made sure that we went up for picture day. And in 1983, went up, and so I'm 3 years old, almost 4 years old, and I get a picture with me and George Brett underneath the fencing that they had, but nobody else could take pictures with Brett. And I still have that photo. It means a lot to me. And he's like, I was the only kid that got the picture. And, I think subconsciously, maybe I knew that, and that just kind of what drove it. And he was such a great baseball player, and there was nothing else to do. So, we're going to follow, baseball all summer long, which was fun.
Yeah. And, what about why did you carry it on even after he got retired? I mean, he had a great long career, but he's been retired for a long time. So how have you manifested that now?
Because I couldn't afford all of his cards. The oldest Brett card I ever had was a 79 Topps, which I was given to me on my 12th birthday because I was born in 79. My friend bought one, and that was the oldest George Brett card for the longest time. I never had a George Brett rookie until October 2012. And it was one of those things when I got back into the hobby and started really focusing down was I want to collect every base card of George Brett or insert available. And I've really concentrated on his playing career from 75 through, or his card career from 75 through 94. And then really from 12 on, it was in between years. If I find it, awesome, but I'm not exclusively hunting those down yet. And so it was just a guy that meant a lot to me. I have posters still of him. And it just takes me back to my childhood when I had a lot of fun and collecting cards with my dad. That's where it takes me.
Yeah, I think he's kind of a contemporary of mine. I'm a little bit older than him, but I had a week at the Baseball Hall of Fame fantasy camp, and Brett was one of not the counselors, but he was one of the players that was there. And he's just a very personable, sharp guy, and looked like he could still play. This has been 14 years ago, so I was in better playing shape, and he looked like he could still play. Ozzie Smith was one of the other guys. He can still do backflips. And he's, I guess, a little bit younger than Brett, but that was fun. That was fun.
Oh yeah, and I like seeing when he pops up. Like he was on an episode of Modern Family a couple years ago, and that was awesome to see. And he's great. He's working with the Royals, and it was great when they won the series in 15. And he was just as happy for those guys as he was when he won it in 85. So
yeah, you see the guy. He's a nice looking guy. He was still really in shape back then. Looked like he could still play. But we forget the hard work that went into perfecting his craft to be an all-star, to be one of the best hitters of his time.
Yeah, no, and I know he talked about, and I've heard interviews where he said he wished he would have taken better care of himself earlier in his career because he did face some injuries in the mid-'80s. And he wasn't able to be there every day for his, for the Royals but the thing I love most about him is that his tenacity. You saw that with the Pine Tar. Everybody knows him for Pine Tar, but the fact that he stayed with the Royals all of those years and always upped his contract before it was up, never let it get to a point where he wasn't coming back. And I think the only reason he didn't come back in '93 is because of the impending strike. He might have played in '94, and I truly believe that they were in a good spot. I mean, they'd gotten Cone, and I think that he played one more year, they would have had a lot better chance, and we would never have that season finished. But that to me meant a lot because we don't see guys stay with their teams their entire career anymore. And I get it and understand there's economics to the game, but to stay in Kansas City and not move on to New York or to LA or to a bigger ball club that had maybe a better chance to win, say even Oakland, that was a better built team, to be that guy, meant a lot to me.
Okay, hobby question for you, Tim. I mean, basically, at one end of the spectrum, you got George Brett, spent his whole career in a small market town, but is just an outstanding Hall of Famer and has a lot of appeal to collectors, not just you and me, but to a lot of people. On the other side of it, the more extreme case is Ricky Henderson, who, came up with the A's and, but was on a whole bunch of teams, especially toward the end. Does George Brett get a bump from being identified so closely with Kansas City, or is it better to share the love?
I think it just depends. I mean, I like, I look at him and Ripken as those guys that stayed, with their teams their entire careers and kind of meant something. Jeter's one of the last guys, Tony Gwynn.
Right.
You see what those guys meant to their team and their friend. I mean, you think of those teams, the Yankees have more guys like that, but the Padres and the Royals really don't. I mean, the Royals are George Brett and
Brooks Robinson.
Brooks with the Royals. Yeah, but you think George Brett, and you're just like, there's not another Royal that, that really pops to your mind that's like iconic, right? And so that I think he does get that. I mean, Ricky played on some really good teams, but yeah, you go, oh yeah, I forgot he played with San Diego. I forgot he was a Mariner. I forgot he was a Red Sox.
Who hasn't forgotten? Uncle Rich.
Yeah.
Fine. If we asked Rich right now, without any homework, to name the teams that Ricky Henderson was on, I wouldn't bet against him.
Yeah, there used to be a clip on my Twitter page of when I was on Stump the Schwab, and the question was about Tony Clark and name the teams in order, and I flipped off like two of the teams. I knew all the teams. I just had two of them, the Yankees and Red Sox flopped. And Tony Clark is banned in my I couldn't tell you today now because I've just banned him out of my brain. So
I played golf with Tony Clark one time at an event, and he's a huge guy and very articulate.
Yes.
And, but I hadn't got much hobby love,
No.
for a guy that's prominent in the kind of management of the players.
Mm-hmm.
So and was a good player, maybe not great, but a good player. But who's anybody on the horizon that could ever take George Brett's place for you, or do you have any current player that reminds you of him? Or
well, I think if you talk just specifically the Royals, I think Alex Gordon is this generation's version. Everybody expected him when he got drafted number 2 out of Nebraska to be the next George Brett. I even remember he played third before they moved into the outfield, and he had some struggles, and it was kind of like, you're going to be the next George Brett. It just didn't work out. Now he's been a fabulous player for the Royals, and I think Hosmer and Moustakas could have been, but Hosmer went to San Diego, and I don't doubt taking all that money. I lived in San Diego, so you're going to offer me that money and I get to live in San Diego? That's a pretty good deal. And then they just knew they couldn't keep Moose, and they traded him to a contender to let him go and try to win again. And I don't fault the Royals for that at all. And they had to make the economic decision. Hey, we're going to have to rebuild again. And I was all for it. Hey, you know what? We went to 2 World Series in a row, and we built through trading away or letting the big dollar guys go, and we built with young guys again. Hey, let's do it again. Let's build with our guys instead of buying people. And so those guys, but I think Gordon right now is probably this generation's George Brett.
So you're George Brett guy,
mm-hmm.
But are you also a Royals? Are you like Stefan with the Twins? Or so Royals is your team?
Yes, and
Ben is A's.
What's up?
Ben is A's. He's
yes.
Oakland or
yep.
Athletics.
Yeah, and when I moved to California in 1990, I hated the Oakland A's, but my dad's like, well, you have to pick a team so we can go to games. And so we ended up picking the Giants because I rooted for the Giants in the 89 series because I did not like the A's because the Royals and A's rivalry in the AL West back in the day. And so I've always rooted for the Giants. Well, my friend asked me in 2010 when the Giants made the series, if the Giants ever played the Royals in the World Series. I'm like, well, that will never happen because who are you pulling for? And I said, well, the Royals. And then it happened in 2014.
Yeah.
And I actually happened to be in Kansas for most of that series. And so I was decked out in all my Royals gear. And when I flew back the day of Game 6, I had all my Royals stuff on. I got so much stuff in the airport coming out with all my Royals gear on. They won that game, and then they lost in 7. And to me, that was the most bittersweet memory of having that happen, because I love the Giants because they're my adopted team. But it was like, it was like it was like, you got to pick between your mom and dad, So yeah.
Any other favorite George Brett memories in collecting? I mean, if I gave you a choice and I gave you a pick of 3 cards, and they're all 1975, and one is the OPG rookie, one is the Topps regular rookie, one is the Topps mini rookie. The Beckett OPG, when I reference that, they're all listed at $100. Now, again, that's for, obviously condition sensitivity is crucial. But if they're all in the same condition, which one do you take?
The Topps, the full size. Even
though it's more common than the others, but it's more collected. Okay.
Yeah, it's the one I always dreamed of owning. I sent out a picture today. Someone was talking that they were chasing it. And I sent them, kind of like what the kids call a Brett Flex, and of the 9 that I have now. My wife actually, today's our 4th anniversary, and our first one is a paper anniversary, and so she bought me a 75 PSA 7 Brett, because we always limit our gifts about $100.
Yeah.
And so she bought that, and that's one of them, and that's even more favorite than the one I purchased myself, which was my first one. But it will always be the top 75.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what after that? What's your favorite card? I mean, what do you if you could only show? So let's set that aside. The rookies.
Yeah. The next one would probably be I would say 87 Topps, because that's the first year I collected. But a close second would be the 93 Topps Finest. I just got my first 2 this last month. And it's because as a kid, Topps 93 Finest. I mean, it was way out of my price range, and I didn't chase any down. And so those would be probably my top 3 Brett cards. People are going to say the 91 Elite, or, that's a cool one, but that Finest always just kind of spoke to me back then. So it's hard to choose. There's so many awesome ones. And then I have some art ones that people have drawn for me, which I love. So.
And how do you keep them? Are you a plastic sheet guy, or are you a top loader, or what do you do?
Yeah, so currently I have a binder of one version of every card, and then the rest I'll get top loaded, and they're all in shoe boxes. So, yep. So I like to be able to flip through and be able to see see them, and then I have the rest, and then all the rookies are other rookies are mag touched. My worst case condition one is in the binder, and the rest are all magged up or great. The one that's graded. So.
Well, like I said, I think Brett's a nice guy. If you're gonna have a favorite player, it ought to be a guy that has great skill, but also is a pretty cool guy. So we share that in common, and also as fellow podcasters. Thanks, Tim, for your time today. Thanks, listeners. I'm sure. Like I said, I'm looking forward to being on About the Cards in an upcoming episode. So that'll be fun. And again, there's a bunch of good podcasts out there. So again, thanks for your listening. Thanks, Tim. Be back again tomorrow with another episode.